this video, I want to walk you through what happens after we've gotten off a kickoff call, and then we need to kick around the ideas that we've discussed to refine it into a screener survey and a recruit that allows us to go and get real people to interview. So what was great about working with Janis in this particular example is that he picked this up and ran with it. He actually opened up a Notion board and he started to dump his ideas and thoughts into this Notion board and just shared it with me. And so then the following day I was able to go through that. I was able to just tag in some questions. I was able to put in my own ideas, and we were really able to collaborate back and forth very quickly to shape this up into a position where we could actually go off and start interviewing people. So here is this Notion that Janis has decided to share with me here. And so one of the things, first thing that he was talking about, adding a certificate here. Thinking about maybe adding a certificate, it's given an example of the growth.design group that he talked about. And then just my comment on here. So, you know, that taught a very different set of skills, and in my experience, I think people like certificates because it's something nice to have. So at the end it's like, oh, well, I get a certificate, can I show this off? But unless it's something that is going to help me get a job, so, you know, like my degree or whatever, I've got that. Why have I got the degree? Well, I was interested in it, but predominantly it was going to help me to message to employers, you can trust me, you can employ me, pay me the money I'm asking for. And so I think there's no harm in adding a certificate of completion. However, the type of certificate Janis was thinking about here, I think was more, you know, I endorse you, you know, you are now fit to go and illustrate books. And unless somebody's buying it for that purpose, I'm not sure we should add it. So he said, okay, we'll park that. He's given me some examples of the courses from his friends here. And so then this is just my explanation. So I think Janis was worried about going and interviewing individuals that have taken a course from somebody else, and for us to find out something that's bad about it or something like that. The purpose of interviewing competitors is not to kick anybody who's down. It's not to say, well, look at this, they're rubbish and I'm great. It's to say, why has somebody chosen a competitor? And there might be really great reasons for it, and it might be things that you're missing. And from just talking to Janis and some of these others, they seem to go and join each other's courses, presumably sort of trying to magpie information, but I don't know, maybe we'll find that out. And if you're trying to see what features should I copy from my competitors, if you go in there, you're just going to copy pretty much anything that you think looks good. If I interview a customer and they tell me I purchased the competitor's product because it had this feature and yours does not, then we can add that feature. Then we can believe that this is worth adding. If it was irrelevant to their purchase decision, they had 10 things on there and 9 of them weren't relevant, and you both sell the top one, then don't add it, don't copy it. You'll let them manage and maintain a product that's full of bloat, and you can be much more focused on this. So we will look at these. Hopefully we'll interview some people there, and obviously, you know, what's the difference in price? What did I do? Well, I've put some of this stuff through here and come up with some others, and then Janis has said, oh, you know, I don't see this as a competitor, which is fair enough. And so, you know, I bought a book, this back of a napkin, I think December, January, or whatever. I ended up on Janis's course in March. Maybe it's a red herring. Maybe I'm the only person who does it. But why not? Let's have a look and see if it matters. This one here is much more like the corporate angle, which I think is a step for the future. And then, you know, just talking back and forth about this. Moving further down, you know, Janis is talking about a price increase. I do think we need, you know, this stuff tells me if people have paid a certain price, I want to talk to the people who've paid the least and the people who've paid the most, and ideally someone somewhere in the middle as well. We've got to work out, is this a lot of money to somebody? In one of the other example interviews I give in our Jobs to Be Done interview guide, somebody spends $30,000 on a course. Now, to me, that's a hell of a lot of money. But to him, he compares it to like a shirt or something like that. It's something you can earn back in a few months. So we've got to understand how much things are worth in their context. And do people actually compare the costs of different courses when they're buying? Or do they just look at this and say, is this worth the money, yes or no, and spend whatever your ticket price is? Janis again talking about bringing his wife in. Maybe he likes the community aspect, which is cool. So my suggestion is we interview people. Let's see, can we interview the people who are using the community and interview the people who are not using the community? Maybe let's interview some people who were using it and stopped, or people who weren't using it and started. Let's learn what does this community add to people, and is anybody buying the course for the community, or is it just something that keeps people around? If you're paying people, charging a one-off fee like Janis is, adding something that gives you an ongoing cost to maintain, such as a community, may not be a great idea. Whereas if you're doing something on a sort of subscription basis and the community makes it sticky and keeps people there, then it is a great idea to invest in that because it keeps people in. Other things, different landing page designs, some information on the conversion rates. So this, at the moment, we'll skip past it. I'm just interested to know it so that we have something to baseline back on. And then there's some affiliate students, but I think, right now, what causes someone to be an affiliate for Janis is not what we're researching. So I want to focus on why did people join. Maybe we'll include these people to see, they got a different reason and they become an affiliate for some reason or not. That's all good. So then I've taken this screener below, and then just some pieces here, recommendations. So in this case here, I think the maximum price on this is about $700 or $800. Quite a lot of people are joining for several $100s. This isn't a massively expensive purchase, so it doesn't stick in people's mind for very long. So, I'm suggesting keeping it in for the last 6 months. So then we've got this to sort of work out who's who. People who've used it, as well as people who've signed up and not used it. And then, is there a power user? How do we build a box where we see all the different viewpoints of this? People who've bought multiple courses, and then scope of the research here. So this is just my suggestion. In these comments, we're agreeing on the scope. And so in here, what is the scope? Q&A. Who are we interviewing? And who are we not interviewing and why? What is it that we're asking this question to do it? A little bit here about how we'll do this. So we've launched a press release now and some sections on the website, so that's relatively unimportant. And then I have this screener. Again, you can only use our custom GPT to create it. You can create your own. Suggested screener here. Why are we asking this? So did you personally purchase this course? And this is for Janis to send to his students. So he already knows that they've purchased this course. I've got a different screener further down that we use for recruiting individuals that are not, not his students. So yes, we'll accept it. No, we'll reject it. If somebody else has bought this for you, then it's their story that we want to interview, not yours. It's a gift. You don't know why you've got it. So we'll reject that. And then in this case here, when did you buy it? So I would always want to know that, again, because we don't want people beyond 6 months. However, Janis rightly points out over here, he's got the data on that. He's going to email his actual customers. So we just only email people who've bought in the last 6 months. That's pretty easy. We can skip a question, save them some mental effort. Just an interesting thing, what roles do people have? If we don't know, maybe there's some insight or information in there. Did they buy it for work or personal use? And then, one work, personal, or presumably both, but other. Completed it or still in progress. That's, again, we probably didn't need to ask that if he's got the data on the back end, but it might be nice to get their insights on it. And then just some text. I quite like to capture these things here because if you're doing a recruitment screener, you're capturing more information than you'll get from the actual interview. So maybe we get 100 people who respond to the screener and we interview 10 to 12 of them. So why don't we just get some of this stuff here? Just see, do we learn anything from it? Maybe we do. Other courses, books, blah, blah, blah. And then the last one here, which this is more for me than anything else. Do we have your consent to record this interview and share it with you guys who hopefully are following along? And so then, just a suggestion, $50 for this. And then I've given a suggested email here. Thanks for this. This is the format. Make it nice and easy. Make it simple. Link to the survey. And I think this is Janis's rewrite of it, which is cool. And then I've put together a user interviews research study, and I've shared this. So this is some interview here. What are we doing? What's the title and the description? And then the format and the screener here. But I won't waste my time going through this now, because in a separate video I will show you how we've set that up in user interviews and how I've weeded out the people that I didn't want to talk to and selected the ones that I have. So we can scroll through all of this relatively quickly, and then there's a press release at the bottom that we've decided to put out to publish this. And then finally, students that Janis had suggested. So here, Roberto said, talk to him. But in this case, he bought an NFT before the course took place, and then Janis gave him access. So I've suggested in this case, don't interview him, because he hasn't struggled and decided to buy the course. He's purchased an NFT and been gifted the course. Whereas some of these others, I won't show their titles and things like that. We would then go and interview those people, because they have purchased it and we do want to talk to them. Cheers. So there you have it. That's a review of the type of collaboration that we need to go through to move from an initial call where we say, okay, yep, this is what we're focused on, to who are we really interviewing? And what are the real decisions we've made? Well, we're not going to focus on the certificate side of things. Some of these things are just ideas Janis has come up with, which is great, but we can't make decisions about them until we've run the research. So we can come back to that, but it's really nice he's put that in there, because when we come back to it, we'll say, well, was it important or not? And that'll hopefully show you that having the insight helps you avoid doing things you shouldn't do, or that would be a waste of time or money. Moving through that, we then go and say, well, okay, what are the characteristics of people that we want to interview? And then we've agreed upon that, within his cohort. He's shared a little bit more about the pricing and the historical pricing. So then I can say, oh yeah, okay, we'll go with a low price one and a high price one, so that we see this. We want people who've completed the course and people who are yet to start, all of this stuff. So we're building that big picture that we want to build. And then I've gone in and said, well, here you go. Here's a set of recruitment questions. And Janis says, well, I don't need to ask that. I already know the answer, which is cool. As well as a deeper list of questions, which are for the user interviews piece, which again, we'll cover in a separate video, but it allows him to then chime in, either to say, yes, ask this, or don't, or why are you asking that? Why is that important? I think it helps deepen people's understanding of this process and get them to think about this rather than just, hey, why are people buying my course? And go more broadly, what causes somebody to actually get their wallet out and buy a course on this type of thing? Or even not a course, go out and buy a product or a service to solve this problem. And if we can get that sort of viewpoint, then we can laser in and say, well, who are my best customers within this big map of the market buying solutions to this problem? What do they most want? And how do we make this the best possible solution at the best possible price for them? So hopefully that helps. This is the process that we go through. Step 2. The next video will talk more about setting up a user interviews recruit, and it will show you how I've weeded out the various people and settled on those that I want to interview. Cheers.